Hello and welcome to the Podquest of Bread. Tonight we are going to talk about dog whistling, a tweet, and Donald Trump continually reaching out to his base. Anybody that hasn't realized by now that Donald Trump's base is majority white, majority racist, whether closeted or out in the open, and just absolute nationalists, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know how to help you if you haven't realized these things. And of course, as we get closer to Election Day, and as we get further and further into this race and more things come out about Donald Trump and more things come out that are damaging to his poll numbers, he's going to get a lot more vicious with this messaging. And he's going to openly pander to those people that he knows are the last ones that are going to support him. So this morning, amidst a tweet storm, an Adderall-filled tweet storm, one that included him retweeting a post that actually made fun of him, tweeting how Kim Jong-un is okay and he's healthy and never underestimate him, Donald Trump let out a little tiny gem. And that gem is the Democrats never even mentioned the words law and order at their national convention. That's where they are coming from. If I don't win, America's suburbs will be overrun with low-income projects, anarchists, agitators, looters, and of course, friendly protesters. So in this tweet, Donald Trump actually does a few things here. And he's continuing how he campaigns, and he's continuing to build how he controls his base. Because as I've said multiple times on this podcast, his base is a cult. They look to him for leadership. They look to him for guidance. They look for him for information. They look to him to tell them how to view the world and how to view certain people and how to view groups of people. And of course, they do this because he has built a fear and played upon the fears that they had already had looking towards society and the world itself. So the first part here, Donald Trump talks about the Democrats never even mentioned the words law and order at their national convention. Now, I could go on and make a joke about it's unfortunate that the Democrats didn't mention one of the longest running TV series in American history at their national convention. It's so unfortunate. There are so many great episodes of that, and then you had the amazing theme song. But when you really look at it, what Donald Trump is trying to do here is he's trying to get that image and that fear stoked within his supporters. What he's trying to do is get them scared. If the Democrats win, there will be no law and order. Ignore the skeletons in my closet. Ignore the lack of law and order within my administration. If the Democrats win and Biden's in office, there will be no law and order. None at all. Forget the fact that Kamala Harris was literally a cop. There'll be no law and order. Forget the fact that Joe Biden, some of the laws he has created have been equally as bad as the things that come out of Donald Trump's mouth. But he's got to stoke that fear because his base, they already fear the Democrats. The Democrats are going to break down society. The Democrats are going to make this lawless land. The Democrats they're going to let the anarchists run amok. The leftists go crazy. That's his thing. That's what he wants them to believe. So of course he's going to play on this because he has to. He has to play on their fears. He has to build up their fears, and he has to stoke their fears, because the more he stokes their fears and builds on their fears, the more they turn to him and ignore everyone else in their lives trying to help them see clearly. Later on in the tweet, he said, "If I don't win, America's suburbs will be overrun with low-income projects." Now, I want this to be crystal clear. That part of the tweet was literally calling to the white nationalists, the alt-right, and all-around racists that support him. And here's why. Those people that support him, that are from the alt-right, that are white nationalists, that are racists, they look at the diversification of the suburbs as a bad thing. When non-white people move into their white neighborhoods, it destroys the cultural element that is their neighborhood. When non-white people move into all-white neighborhoods, suddenly things change. The fear within these people is that if a non-white person moves into a white, like a mostly white neighborhood, then all of a sudden, what's going to come with them? Drugs and crime and violence. Ignore the fact that these white neighborhoods have drugs in them already. They have crime in them already. They already have violence. In fact, more cases of domestic violence exist within these all-white suburban neighborhoods than they do in minority neighborhoods. But this plays upon their fear. Their fear is that the people moving into their neighborhoods, these low-income families moving into their neighborhoods, the equalization of the wealth, the equalization of the neighborhood's diversity, they fear that it will destroy the America they know, the white picket fence, the two dogs, and the mommy and the daddy and the child sitting on the porch. These are the things that they look forward to, because these are the same people that talk about the American dream. And what was the American dream? A mommy, a daddy, a white picket fence, two kids, and a dog. And it's almost always a white family, because that's who these people see the American dream applying to. Low-income projects. Donald Trump equates those that are in poverty, and overwhelmingly minorities that are in poverty, as living in projects, as if by their own choice, as if by design, as if they want to be in these projects. But the thing is, they're not in these projects because they want to be there. They're there because that's how the system is designed. It's designed to keep them in the projects and not have them in suburbia, whitewashed suburbia. This is what he is trying to stoke the fear of. Beyond that, he goes on to say anarchist, agitators, looters, and of course, friendly protesters. It's the final piece of that fear tactic that he puts into his supporters' minds. Anarchists. He's been building this fear of anarchists for months now, as if anarchists are a bad thing, as if people wanting to dissolve a federal government, a overbearing government which does nothing for the people, is bad. He's got to build that fear. Agitators, ignoring the fact that a lot of the agitators appear to be from the alt-right. They appear to be white nationalists blending in with these crowds, sparking violence, and then leaving. They appear to possibly even be cops undercover doing the same thing. Play on that fear. Then he goes on to say looters and, of course, friendly protesters. What he is still doing is building this idea that there is no such thing as a friendly protest. These people protesting are not friendly. They have evil intentions. And if you allow them to come, if you allow Biden to win, you allow the Democrats to win, these people are going to be in your nice white neighborhoods, and they're going to be looting and rioting, and they're going to be protesting, and the anarchists and the agitators are going to come and get you and booga, booga, booga. This is what Donald Trump does. This is how he controls his cult. Bear in mind, when he says anarchists and agitators, he's referring to one thing and one thing only: anti-fascists. That's specifically what he is tying those words to. Because a fascist will never say they're a fascist, but what a fascist will do is say that anti-fascists are terrorists, or anti-fascists are evil, or anti-fascists are bad. Donald Trump's going to stoke this fear for the next 60 days. He is going to stoke the fires of fear within people's hearts. And the reason he's going to stoke the fires of fear is because keeping them scared and keeping them thinking that he's the ultimate source of information, and keeping them thinking that he is the guide on reality, he is the patriot, and that he is the one that will keep America great and make America great again. That is his tactic. That's how he wins. That's how he maintains control. He divides families. By dividing families, he makes people even more isolated than they already feel mentally. He makes it so that they have to turn to him for advice. They have to turn to him for all of their information because they have decided to just isolate themselves from their own family and friends. This is cult behavior. I've said it a million times. This is fascist behavior. It checks off all 14 characteristics all the time. You could go ahead and literally link it to all 14 characteristics at varied times in varied tweets. But I just want to be clear. The title of this podcast right now is Whistle, because dog whistling to racists has become his modus operandi. This is all he's doing now. He's dog whistling to racists. And whether they are actually blatantly racist and they know it in their soul that they are racist, or they're people that don't realize that what they're sharing and what they are supporting and what they're believing in is racist, it doesn't matter, because he's dog whistling to them. He's getting them to turn and look at him. He's getting their attention. When he says that your suburban neighborhoods will be filled with low-income projects, that is the ultimate fear for these people. That their neighbor might be black, or their neighbor might be Asian, or their neighbor might be Mexican or Indian, or whatever other beautiful human may be near them. That's the fear. The fear is that anti-fascists like myself, that anarchists like myself want to see diversity in the world, and he wants to stoke that fear because that might not be a white person next to you. It might be some other beautiful human. This is what we're looking at. A president that panders to dictators like Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, that panders and says they are great people or never underestimate them. He panders to them because he wants to be one of them. He wants to be just like them. That's how he wants to rule this country. And I'm going to say that this is why this election is so dangerous. I said it in a couple podcasts ago that I don't typically like to say those words, but I'm going to say it. This election's dangerous. Because if he exists within the White House for another 4 years, he doesn't have to worry about what he does. And suddenly these words, they become reality. They become dangerous. They become deadly. And they become blood. Blood on the streets, blood on the walls, and blood on the history of the United States of America. Looking back, where do you want your children to see you standing? That's what you need to think about.